All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And peace, love, and salutation to all you occupants pushing this truth and truth sincerity. Excuse me. Now I want to get into Revelation 22 and 7, the first precept concerning this lesson. Behold, I come quickly. Now this is in red. This is the words of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And as we keep saying in these lessons, the letter J did not come around to the 1520s with a man named John Trissino. All right, so this is written 2,000 years ago. All right, this is Revelation, the book of Revelation, right? The book of Revelation was written between 96 AD, 96 AD to 100 AD, with the John the Revelator be on the island of Patmos. So the Messiah's name cannot be called Jesus, man. When, like I said, from 96 AD to 100 AD, Revelation, all right, was written. So how would his name be Jesus when the letter J didn't come around to the 1520s? Behold, I come quickly. And, you know, the signs that we see, all right, the earthquakes, the pestilence, all right, the wars and rumors of wars. There's still a war in Ukraine right now if these people in America didn't see. Now, I know these people east over there in Europe and, you know, the so-called Middle East, they know it's still war still going on in Ukraine. But these Americans, what are they occupied with? They're occupied with the NCAA tournament and the Elite Eight right now. Baseball season just came in with roughly 2 days ago. All right, it's springtime. Now, down here in the South, we got this pollen kicking our ass. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. All right, distractions. And people in America, namely our people, are distracted. But the Lord is coming back quickly, man. And he's showing us these signs that's out here to give us indications to spiritually get our stuff together for the second coming of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It says, behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. And then, I'm going to go back to prophecy. I'm going to get that definition, because it's just so heavy, all right, from the blue letter. Now, when you read the blue letter, you have to have the spiritual discernment to take away the meat from the bones. But this definition right here is so heavy. Let's let Esau pronounce it.
Strong's G 4394. Prophetiah.
Prophetiah. And it says, excuse me, I mean, I'm clearing my throat. It's this pollen out here. It's kicking my behind, man. I don't really have so-called allergies, but every year with this pollen down here in the state of Georgia, it just gets worse and worse, man. You know, it's just yellow everywhere on the concrete, on the blacktop. It's just everywhere, man. So excuse me if I keep clearing my throat. Now, prophetiah goes into prophecy, a discourse emanating from divine inspiration and declaring the purposes of the Most High. The Most High's name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai. Whether by reproving and admonishing the wicked, all right, or comforting the afflicted. We're comforting brothers and sisters who are catching hell across the four corners of the earth, letting you know about the good news, the gospel, or revealing things hidden, especially by foretelling future events. Now, the Messiah, as I'm going to get into in Matthew 24, Yahweh Shai prophesied of earthquakes in diverse places. And this is what this lesson is going to be on. All right, major earthquakes happening this week alone. Used in the New Testament of the utterance of Old Testament prophets, of the prediction of events relating to Yahweh Shai's kingdom, who they ignorantly call Christ, and its speedy triumph, together with the consolations and admonitions pertaining to it, the spirit of prophecy, the divine mind to which the prophetic faculty is due. of the endowment and speech of Christian teachers called prophets. Now, the real Christians are Israelites, not this whack pseudo Christianity that you get now. All right, and you got all these Christians that try to come up against the Hebrew Israelites. It's really played out. You know, go do your own thing. If you believe you have the truth, then you should do your own thing. And guess what? These people that come up against these camps, all right, whether it be Great Millstone or these other camps, Hebrew Israelite camps, these are the same Christians that went to go celebrate Easter last Sunday. All right, probably got their kids dressed up to go pull eggs from trees that are so-called laid by bunnies and rabbits. These are the same guys that come up against us, okay, eating honey-baked hams, a food that's labeled abominable in the dietary laws of Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. So shame on you Christians, man. You guys are hypocrites. You're not prophesying. You just want to make yourself feel good because you know you're losing, man. And we're not answering questions, man. We got the cops on speed dial for you Christians that come up. I know I got a couple numbers in my phone. You know, so if y'all come up, hey, I'm gonna ask, you know, my higher ups in the camp. I got the certain precinct in my in my contact list, man. Because we're tired of you guys, man. You guys aren't prophesying, man. You guys are just butthurt at this point. But anyways, it says of the endowment and speech of Christian teachers called prophets, the gifts and utterances of these prophets, especially of the predictions of the works of which set apart to teach the gospel, which is the good news, will accomplish for the kingdom of Yahushua. That's prophecy. All right. And as I said, we're gonna get into this earthquake, man. This is from Eyewitness News in New York. Now it's about 1,000 dead. Now you see 150 dead, but it's really 1,000 dead. This is March 29th, 8:27 a.m. It's 9:26 p.m. right now as I'm speaking here in Atlanta. All right. Myanmar, Thailand earthquake death toll. Now, if you don't know where Myanmar and Thailand are at, all right, let's get a map of it. All right, Southeast Asia. Myanmar, all right, Burma, I believe, is the capital. And then you got, I believe Thailand. Yeah, Thailand is right here. All right, I believe Bangkok is the capital. So this earthquake hit Thailand and Myanmar, all right, over there in Southeast Asia. It says Myanmar, Thailand earthquake death toll jumps to more than 1,000 as bodies recover from the rubble. And matter of fact, I'm gonna let this play, but fair use. I'm gonna let it play, but I'm gonna just not play the sound, okay? And I'm gonna just read it. Now look at that, man. It's really going down out there, man. This is what the Lord prophesied about, man. Look at that rubble. All right, buildings collapsing. Look at that. It's a building that just collapsed, man. Look at that. Devastating. All right, and this Myanmar and Thailand, they're not in the Pacific Ring of Fire, because I looked it up. You have the Pacific Ring of Fire that is basically making a circle around these islands that's in the South Pacific and in the Pacific in the United States. And look at that, man. Imagine you being in a building like that, man. You know, these people want to live in these expensive high rises, and that's going to be their ass, especially here in the United States. All right, because you got, man, look at that. That's jacked up, man. Hey, the God of the Bible's not playing. I guess he's getting your attention now, because there's Israelites in Myanmar and Thailand. All right, they've heard of the gospel, because the gospel's going abroad, man. All right, and that's it on that. I'm gonna just read it. But you know, there's major fault lines in the United States, and imagine these people, like for instance, the New Madrid fault zone that will affect Memphis, St. Louis, parts of Illinois. Imagine somebody living in St. Louis, Missouri, in a high rise where this fault zone is at, and the same thing happening, man. You living on the freaking 17th floor of a high rise thinking it's all good, and then boom. A lot of people in St. Louis and Missouri and where the New Madrid fault zone is at, a lot of people in Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Illinois did not even know about this fault zone. So imagine what happens. They sitting there in their loft, they probably watching the St. Louis Cardinals game, everything is good, and then boom, your building starts shaking. It starts shaking back and forth, and then all of a sudden it crumbles. That's the fear of the Lord, man. I would not be living in no high rise, man. But these people, they like to wave it in your face. I live in a loft. I live in this. Okay. What happens when an earthquake hits, man? Because these people, these Americans only think an earthquake would happen in California with the San Andreas fault line. So Bangkok, that's where Thailand is at. The death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar jumped to more than 1,000 on Saturday. Now, yesterday it was like 100. I think a brother put in a group text that was 144 that died. Now it jumped to 1,000. Now imagine those people underneath that rubble, buildings collapsing. That's going to cause a lot of deletions. The death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar jumped to more than 1,000 on Saturday as more bodies were pulled from the rubble of the scores of buildings that collapsed when it struck near the country's second largest city. The country's military-led government said in a statement that 1,002 people have now been found dead and another 2,376 injured, with 30 others missing. So they probably dead as well. The statement suggested that numbers could still rise, saying detailed figures are still being collected. Myanmar, also known as Burma, in the throes of a prolonged and bloody civil war, which is already responsible for massive humanitarian crisis. But you're not talking about the humanitarian crisis over there in the Gaza Strip with those you-know-who's, those Amalekites over there. It makes movement around the country both difficult and dangerous, complicating relief efforts and raising fears that the death toll could still rise precipitously. The earthquake struck midday Friday with an epicenter not far from Mandalay, followed by several aftershocks, including one measuring a 6.4 magnitude. It sent buildings in many areas toppling to the ground. So in Myanmar and Thailand, buildings were toppled to the ground. Buckled roads caused bridges to collapse and burst a dam. Now, excuse me, it's correction. The capital is not Burma. And the capital, Nay Payada. These heathens be having these weird names for these cities, man. And they be having some weird last names, man. In the kingdom of heaven, you're going to get Hebrew names, man. All right? Crews worked Saturday to repair damaged roads with electricity, phone, and internet services remained down for most of the city. So when an earthquake hits America and you can't get your internet, these people go to parties and commit suicide, man. Because these useless eaters in America, they eat KFC. They told you in that KFC commercial that basically they're using humans to eat your KFC chicken. You people will throw yourselves from the building. That's spirit chicken. All right? Now, Bojangles is a staple down here in the South, but I still don't trust that chicken. You know what I'm saying? Where you get on that chicken from? But these Americans, basically, they don't see the judgment that's going to happen here in America. All this stuff that's happening in these other countries, there's fault zones and fault seduction zones in America. It says the earthquake brought down many buildings, including multiple units that house government civil servants, but that section of the city was blocked off by authorities on Saturday. In neighboring Thailand, the quake rocked the greater Bangkok area, home to some 17 million people in other parts of the country. Bangkok city authorities said so far 6 people have been found dead. Well, it's been more than that. 26 injured and 47 are still missing, most from a construction site near the capital's popular Kachuchuk Market. On Saturday, more heavy equipment was brought in to move the tons of rubble, but hope was fading among family and friends and family members of the missing that they would be found alive. All right. So this is what's really going down, man. These people, are recovering from this major earthquake. And as you can see, magnitude 3.9 earthquake rattles Los Angeles on Oscar night. All right. Now that might be old, but like I said, there's major fault lines across the United States. The Cascadia subduction zone in the Pacific Northwest, of course, San Andreas, the Ramapo fault zone that will affect New York City and parts of Pennsylvania, and of course the new Madrid fault zone, and there's many other fault zones. I'm gonna have to just do another lesson. I'm gonna have to do another lesson on more fault zones in the United States, man. And you can't forget about the Pacific Ring of Fire that affects, there's a lot of earthquakes in Peru. All right, that's where Asher is at. All right, the tribe of Asher in Peru down in South America. That's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. So let's get a precept. This is Matthew 24, verse 1 from the top. Signs of Yahweh's return, who the world even calls Christ. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the building of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Let's get that word world, because this is what Christians fail to bring out, because they go to John 3:16, but Christians don't know about the three different types of world in John 3:16. Excuse me. Now it says world. I think it's G165 if I'm not mistaken. Eon. The end of the world, right?
Strong's G165. Ion.
When you look at that definition, it goes, when the disciples later turned apostles, we're talking about the end of an age, a period of time, the end of an age. All right, that's what the disciples were asking. All right. Now, guess what? They were under the rule of the Romans, right? Now, this is the revised Roman Empire. The revised beast system with the EU and NATO ruling. All right, and that was 2,000 years ago. All right. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world, the end of an age? When you read 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, it talks about the end of Esau and the beginning of Jacob. It won't be no chemtrails in the kingdom of heaven. It won't be no KFC or Bojangles. It won't be no concrete. All right, these shoes that we walking on, we'll have some type of shoes that walk on, but these shoes right now, everything is just death. in this age, everything is just death and cancer under Esau, Edom, namely under Amalek, because he's the devil of the devils, man. All right, and they let you know that they're the devil, man. They got a hockey team called the New Jersey Devils. They got a football team, a collegiate football team called the Arizona Sun Devils. They got a basketball team called the Duke Blue Devils. They have a soccer team called the Manchester Red Devils. They'll let you know that they're the devil of the devil that the Bible speaks of. Devil just means deceiver. He's deceived you into these philosophies to believe that he's God, and he's not. He's just a simple man who was created to be the wicked. And he's going to get taken down. All right. So all these signs that we're seeing is going to show you that we're at the end of Esau, the devil's system, man. Ain't gonna be no Transformers and no LGBTs in the kingdom of heaven. All this weirdo activity that these Israelites are on right now. You know, you got this guy, Alazar, in this pegging incident. He's under the influence of America, man, because he's going in the Adam 22 shows. Okay? That guy's a weirdo, too. No more weirdo activity in the kingdom of heaven, man. All that weirdo stuff, getting tattoos and lineups, and the women being over. All that weirdo stuff is going to be gone, man. But you know what? The Lord is showing us signs with these earthquakes that he's about to end this weirdo stuff, man. And he's about to enter in the kingdom of heaven where righteousness will dwell, man. Ain't gonna be no weirdo activities in the kingdom of heaven. And if you heathens, because you heathens, you're gonna be held under the law. And the Israelites, the law, statutes, commandments, all right, according to Jeremiah 31 and 31 and Hebrews 8 and 8, which we're not under right now for you New Testament weirdos, okay? We're going to be perfect. You other heathens, you're going to have to catch up. And if we see you on some weirdo stuff, man, that's going to be Revelation 2 and 26, man. We're going to punish you severely. But y'all going to get in line. But you know what? Esau, man, he got a short period of time. He got 1,000 years to build up our kingdom. And there ain't going to be no apartment complexes for Esau. Ain't going to be no, loans to take out on the house in the kingdom of heaven for Esau. The scriptures talk about he's going to be in a pit. Starting with his top elite banking families, man. So Matthew 24 and 4. So lucky for the rant, but hey, we're hastening the day. All right. This is another lesson about hastening the day of the Lord. You could be like, oh, that brother, he's just always doing a lesson about earthquakes. Really, it's good news because it's one day closer to the kingdom of heaven. Look at it like that. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. You got a lot of weirdos saying, yeah, I'm the second coming of Christ. I'm the son of God. I'm the son of man. Okay, why are you wearing prescription glasses then, my nigga? And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. There's still wars. That war going on in the Ukraine. You got to pay attention to the conflict in the South China Sea. There's a lot of conflicts that are coming up. Just this week, I did a lesson on Iran putting missiles in the Strait of Hormuz, man. We're in a time of war. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. All right, look at the cost of eggs, man, with this so-called bird flu. All right, that's driving people up the roof, man. All right, but it's going to be a famine of the word, according to Amos 8 and 11, and it's going to be a famine of food. All right, but the scriptures in Isaiah 65 says, my servant shall eat. Y'all brothers that's been diligently doing the work and holding the faith, those are the brothers that's going to eat. Lord willing, we eat in them days, man, because hey, the times are coming, man. They're closing out all these stores. People losing their jobs. There's a lot of desperation out here, man. You women are going to turn back to prostitution fully. All right. But then again, there comes Isaiah 4 and 1 for the women who see that y'all brothers got the spirit of Yahweh Shemal Shah on you, man. And pestilence. Like I said, the bird flu. And that's why the cost of eggs is so high in it. And then, Esau and his CDC, okay, he's gonna come out with something out of the woodworks, but really that the Heavenly Father is control of all that, man. It says, and earthquakes in diverse places. Now you had another earthquake in New Zealand at 6.7. I'm gonna read this right quick. This is March 24th, 2025. Magnitude 6.7 quake shakes New Zealand South Island. Now let's get that world map again. Show you where New Zealand is at. New Zealand. Okay. Australia, the continent of Australia, right? You got a brother down there in Queensland, all right, GMS Australia. All right, he's preaching in Brisbane. But you got another brother that's in Melbourne. Big ass continent, man. Most of the people live on the eastern seaboard. That this is all the wilderness and where the kangaroos and the koalas is at. You know what I'm saying? Western Australia. All right. But now here you got Wellington, Auckland, New Zealand. I believe is the capital. Then you got New Zealand. You got some Jakes there too. You know, you got some Jakes that look like so-called Japhites. You know, they live in New Zealand. That's where that earthquake happened. All right. So it says a strong 6.7 magnitude earthquake struck off New Zealand's South Island on Tuesday, authorities said, as the country's disaster agency assessed if there were any tsunami threats. All right. Now, tsunamis can reach up to what, 100 feet? That big wave of water that can reach 100 feet after an earthquake of that magnitude happens. Residents of Southland and Fiordland regions should stay away from beaches and marine areas as strong and unusual currents may present a danger, the National Emergency Management Agency said. So that's it on that. But you had a 6.7 and a 7.7 happen in diverse places. And that's what Yahweh Shah was prophesying about. Okay? Earthquakes in diverse places, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Let's get that second Ezra 9 and 1. Second Ezra 9 and 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. We're measuring the time that Yahweh Shah is going to come back with what he said in Matthew, the 24th chapter. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And we go to second Ezra 16, I think it's 38, he talks about the plagues are not slack. And these plagues are to continue to amplify and get bigger and bigger and bigger. While you people continue to get proud, the Lord got a remedy. All right. Let's go to second Ezra 8 right quick after I get this. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, come on, man, there's plenty of earthquakes, magnitude earthquakes that happened this week, as we read, and uproars of the people. There's people in uproar in Turkey last week over the elections, all right, the presidential elections. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. And let's close it out on second Ezra 8 and 50, because through all this, people are still going to be prideful, man. All right, especially these so-called Americans, man, especially our people that say they're Americans, okay? You know, you step outside your door. Today is camp day, and, man, come on, man. We go to camp, people just going to walk by the camp like, da-da-da-da-da. They're going to continue to do their wickedness, their folly, their weirdo activity, especially in Atlanta, man. There's a lot of freaking weirdos in Atlanta, man. You know, if I'm not doing the work in Atlanta, I'm not going to Atlanta. I don't live in Atlanta. I stay the hell away from Atlanta. And I'm gonna say this, man. If you brothers got any family members that want to move down here, I would highly suggest not to. Stay where you at. Second Ezra 8 and 50, because everything has gone up in Atlanta, man. This is not Black Hollywood. Okay, it's becoming another Los Angeles. Really, it's a lot of smog, a lot of crime. Everything has gone up. This is not black excellence, okay? For you jakes that want to move here, it's better off moving to Tennessee or somewhere, man. Second Ezra 8 and 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them in the latter time. There's going to be miseries that happen to people in these last days. Shall dwell in the world, the whole world. Do you think these people in Thailand and Myanmar thought an earthquake would happen? Living in them high-rise lofts? Because they have walked in great pride. These people living in these lofts, in these luxurious subdivisions with the golf courses, they're just prideful, man. They don't fear Yahweh Shemel Shai. Most of them are the heathen. But for our people, they walk in great pride, not acknowledging the Heavenly Father, man. There's going to be a lot of miseries that happen to these people. And earthquakes are one form of miseries. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.